Get up. Get your Bible. Get your heart ready. We're going to the Word of God today. And I want you to open your heart, because what you're about to hear is going to change everything you thought you knew about the small moments in life. Today I am challenging you to change your perspective, because some of you are looking at your current situation and thinking it's too small, too insignificant, too ordinary. But God is saying to you today, it's bigger than you think. Yes, that thing you're calling small is a divine setup for something far greater. And I know you've been waiting for something extraordinary to happen. But I'm here to tell you that extraordinary moments are wrapped in ordinary packages. You're not just sitting here by chance today. God has a bigger purpose for you than you could possibly imagine. You just have to be ready when it happens. You need to hear this, because it's time for you to stop underestimating the power of your current season. Get ready, because everything is about to shift. It's bigger than you think. Can you say that with me? It's bigger than you think. Now, let's open our Bibles to 1 Samuel 17:29. This introduction serves to grab the audience's attention by highlighting the theme of the speech, the greatness that lies in everyday moments and the underestimated significance of what may seem like small or mundane tasks. It sets the stage for the rest of the message, urging the audience to reconsider their circumstances and trust in the bigger picture. The audience is encouraged to stay tuned, because the message will unveil how seemingly insignificant moments will lead to their own life-changing encounters. Small things often lead to the most significant moments in life, but we rarely recognize their importance until we look back from the vantage point of our future. The Bible is full of stories where seemingly insignificant actions or decisions set the stage for the greatest breakthroughs and transformations. We often focus on the big moments, the great victories, or the climactic events, but it's the small steps, the quiet moments, and the unnoticed tasks that prepare us for those pivotal moments. David's story is a perfect example. When he was sent by his father to deliver food to his brothers, he wasn't sent to battle. He wasn't sent to fight a giant. He was simply carrying lunch. Seems trivial, a small act, right? But that small act changed everything. In the moment, David had no idea that delivering that food would set the stage for his rise to greatness. He didn't know he was walking into a destiny-altering situation, but he was. The lunch wasn't just lunch, it was the first step in the journey that would lead him to become one of the greatest kings Israel ever knew. What might seem like a mundane, ordinary task in your life is in fact preparing you for something much greater. Every day we are faced with the choice to either overlook or recognize the small opportunities and assignments that come our way. It's easy to ignore the small tasks, to think they don't matter, to wait for the big thing to come along. But what if the small thing you're avoiding or not giving your full attention to is the very thing that's going to unlock your future? What if you are waiting for the wrong moment, expecting something huge to happen when the key to your success is right in front of you? David's seemingly trivial error was the moment that set him on a path to greatness. Had he not been diligent in his small task, he would have missed the opportunity to face Goliath and change the course of history. Greatness is not reserved for the big moments that everyone notices. It's found in how we handle the mundane, the everyday, and the unnoticed. The truth is, we are often given small assignments, small challenges, and small responsibilities that we don't think are worth much. But these small things are shaping us, testing us, and teaching us the lessons we need to handle the big moments when they come. Every moment counts. Every task matters. You may not be able to see it now, but everything you're going through is preparing you for something greater. When you're faithful in the little things, when you give them the attention and care they deserve, you are positioning yourself for the big things. If David had seen his errand as beneath him, if he had dismissed the importance of delivering food to his brothers, he would have missed the chance to face Goliath. Instead, he embraced his small task with the same diligence and commitment that he would have given to any big responsibility. He didn't know it at the time, but his faithfulness in the small task made him ready for the battle that would define his destiny. The things you think are insignificant in your life are preparing you for greatness. They are developing your character, strengthening your resolve, and building your capacity for what lies ahead. Never underestimate the power of the small things, because they are the seeds that will grow into something much greater. Timing is everything. In life, we often find ourselves wishing for the right moment, praying for the right opportunity to come along, and waiting for the stars to align in our favor. But there is an undeniable truth. Everything has its appointed time, and God orchestrates those times perfectly, even when we cannot see it. David's journey is a testament to this. When he was sent to deliver food to his brothers, he didn't know that he was stepping into a moment that would define his entire life. He wasn't planning to fight a giant or become a national hero that day. He was simply fulfilling his father's request. Yet God's timing was at work. The battle between Israel and the Philistines had been raging, and David showed up at exactly the right moment, just when Goliath was defying the armies of Israel. If David had been even a few minutes later, he would have missed his divine moment. The opportunity to confront Goliath, to step into his destiny, was in that specific moment, at that exact time. We often feel like we're waiting for the big moment to arrive, and when it doesn't happen as quickly as we expect, it's easy to become discouraged. But God's timing is never wrong. There are seasons in life when it feels like nothing is happening. We question why things aren't moving forward, why doors aren't opening, or why we're still stuck in the same place. But those quiet, seemingly uneventful seasons are preparing us for the breakthrough that's coming. Just like David didn't know the full extent of his destiny when he showed up that morning, you may not know what God is preparing you for right now. But he is setting things up in your life. Everything that happens is part of his perfect plan. Every moment, every delay, every moment of waiting is a part of his divine timing. God doesn't do things in haste. His plan is meticulously crafted, and he knows exactly when you will be ready for the next step. Just like David was being trained in the quiet moments of his life, handling sheep and doing small tasks, God is using your current season to prepare you for your moment. You may not understand why certain things are happening or why it feels like your life is moving in slow motion, but I assure you God's hand is at work, shaping and molding you for the moment when you will step into what he's prepared for you. Think about it. If David had tried to rush ahead of God's plan, or if he had missed that exact moment, the entire course of history would have been different. The timing had to be perfect. God knows when you're ready, even when you don't. There may be times when you feel like you're stuck or like the door hasn't opened for you yet, but that doesn't mean that God isn't working behind the scenes. He is preparing you for the moment that will change everything. And when that moment comes, you'll be ready because of the timing he has set in place. So stop worrying about the wait. Trust in the process. Trust that God knows the best time to move in your life. Your time is coming. Just as he aligned David's timing to face Goliath, he is aligning yours for the moment that will reveal his greatness through you. When that moment comes, you'll be exactly where you need to be, ready to step into your destiny. Not a minute too soon and not a minute too late. The path to greatness is rarely a straight line, and it's often paved with the mundane, the ordinary, and the overlooked tasks. We tend to think that when we are called to something significant, it will be clear and grand from the start, but that's not always how it works. David's story teaches us that greatness often begins with small, seemingly insignificant steps. In the beginning, David was simply sent on a simple errand by his father. There was nothing extraordinary about it, just a basic task to deliver food to his brothers on the battlefield. But it was in fulfilling this small, seemingly trivial responsibility that David found himself in the right place at the right time to face Goliath. Many of us miss the opportunity to step into our calling because we fail to see the significance in the small things. We think that greatness will come when we're given a platform, a title, or an audience, but those things are not what determine the outcome. is how we approach the small things that matter. It's in how we handle the small tasks with diligence and excellence that prepares us for the bigger ones. Every small act of obedience, no matter how unimportant it may seem at the time, is a building block in the foundation of our destiny. David didn't show up that day thinking he was going to confront a giant. He didn't even know he was walking into a battle. He thought he was simply carrying food, but in doing so, he was preparing for the moment that would change the course of his life. The task wasn't glamorous. It was glamorous to take food to his brothers, but David did it with the same level of commitment and responsibility as he would any task, no matter how small. His faithfulness in that simple action set him up for greatness. He didn't wait for the world to recognize him. He just did what was in front of him. God is watching how you handle the small things. Too often we overlook the importance of the day-to-day responsibilities, waiting for the big break, the big opportunity, the big moment. But if we can't be faithful with the small things, we'll never be ready for the bigger ones. Your attitude in the seemingly insignificant task reveals what kind of leader, parent, spouse, and person you will be when the bigger assignments come your way. If you treat the small things with excellence, God will trust you with the big things. The story of David reminds us that greatness is often hidden in the most unexpected places. It's not about the accolades or the attention, it's about the quiet moments of obedience, of doing what you're called to do, no matter how small it seems. If you can commit to doing the little things with excellence, God will open doors for you that you never imagined. The giant you're called to defeat may be waiting on the other side of your faithfulness in the small moments. Don't underestimate the importance of what you are doing right now. It may not seem like much, but it is laying the groundwork for the extraordinary things God has in store for you. The mindset we carry as we face challenges can determine whether we rise to the occasion or shrink in fear. It's easy to assume that life's greatest challenges will come with ample warning, preparation, and an easy way to recognize them. But reality often doesn't give us that luxury. David did not know that morning that he would face the giant Goliath. He simply went to do his father's bidding, carrying a small bag of supplies. There was no grand foreshadowing, no elaborate vision, no hint that this seemingly trivial task would lead him to a life-altering moment. His assignment was simple, and yet he walked into his destiny by obeying the seemingly insignificant call. This teaches that we must learn to see greatness in the everyday moments. The path to greatness isn't often marked by the grand and dramatic. It's often hidden in the daily tasks we overlook. Life will present us with moments where we are unaware that we're on the cusp of something significant. You might not know that your next step, no matter how simple or small, is going to change the trajectory of your life. David didn't know that his obedience would open the door for him to face the giant. He didn't know that the steps he was taking would soon lead him to victory, but his willingness to be faithful in the small things set him up for something extraordinary. Many people struggle with this idea because they're waiting for the big moment, the big opportunity. They're waiting for the door to open, for someone to notice them, or for a moment of dramatic breakthrough. But that's not how life works. David's journey to greatness started with what seemed like a meaningless errand. It wasn't the battlefield, the throne, or even the title of king that prepared him for his battle with Goliath. It was his consistency in doing the right thing, no matter how small it seemed, that shaped his character and prepared him for greatness. In the same way, we have to be willing to see the potential in the small, uncelebrated actions. It's not about waiting for the perfect time, the perfect moment, or the perfect stage. It's about doing what we are called to do right where we are. Greatness is not about grand entrances, it's about being faithful in the mundane. If we can commit to excellence in the small things, we're setting ourselves up to be trusted with the bigger things. David's willingness to perform a small, seemingly insignificant task with a servant's heart put him in position to face a giant. He was prepared for the fight not because he had trained for it, but because he had been faithful in the smaller moments leading up to it. Many of us are looking for the big break, the major opportunity, or the game-changing event. But the real breakthrough often comes through faithfulness in the quiet, behind-the-scenes moments. We must stop dismissing the small steps we take and start understanding that they are laying the foundation for what is to come. The giant is waiting, but the victory will come from how we handle the little things today. Your future is shaped by how you handle the present. And if you are faithful in the small moments, you will be positioned for great things. In every season of life, there is a divine rhythm, a perfect timing that only God fully understands. For David, the key to his victory over Goliath was not just his skill, but the fact that he showed up at exactly the right moment. Timing is everything. Imagine if David had been delayed or arrived too early. He could have missed the pivotal moment when Goliath stepped forward to challenge Israel. If he had been late, the opportunity would have passed, and he would have never had the chance to face the giant. Timing wasn't just a matter of luck, it was a part of God's greater plan. There's a lesson for us all in this: our preparation, our patience, and our willingness to trust God's timing will determine the success of our journey. We live in a world that prizes instant results. We are conditioned to want things now, to move quickly, and to push forward at all costs. But God's timing often doesn't align with our plans. Sometimes we may feel like we're lagging behind or that we're stuck in a holding pattern. Yet the truth is that God is orchestrating our steps. Every moment you think you are waiting is actually a season of preparation, and every moment of stillness is part of a larger plan. It might feel like nothing is happening, but there's a purpose in the waiting. God's timing is not random or disconnected. He doesn't work on our schedule, but on a divine timeline that knows exactly when to release us into our purpose. David had no idea that the simple task of delivering food to his brothers would be the exact moment that set him up for greatness. God did not give David a heads up that this was going to be the day he faced his giant. But David's obedience, combined with his trust in God's timing, positioned him perfectly. When he arrived at the camp, the battle was already underway. And it was at that precise moment that Goliath came forward. David was in the right place at the right time, not because he had been striving to get there, but because he was willing to be faithful in his small task. There is so much power in trusting that the timing of your life is in the hands of God. When we stop trying to rush ahead or force things into our own timeline, we begin to experience the peace of knowing that God has everything under control. Our role is not to make things happen, but to align ourselves with His purpose. When we do that, we begin to see how everything falls into place in its due time. Just as David was strategically placed at the battlefield at the right moment, so too are we being positioned at this very moment for something significant. God's timing can feel like a test. It can feel like you're waiting on something that isn't coming, but you are never waiting in vain. Every season of waiting, every moment of delay is preparing you for what's next. The breakthrough doesn't come when you expect it. It comes when God decides the time is right. It's not about rushing to meet our goals. It's about being prepared for the moment that God has planned for us. Just like David, when we remain faithful to the small things, trust in God's perfect timing, and stay obedient, we are always on the verge of something greater than we could have ever imagined. We may not see the outcome, but we can rest in knowing that God has been working behind the scenes to set everything in place for us to fulfill our purpose. God uses ordinary moments to set the stage for extraordinary victories. We often get caught up in the big moments, the flashy experiences, and the dramatic breakthroughs that we fail to see that the everyday tasks and quiet moments are equally significant. David's life is a perfect illustration of this truth. When he was called to the battlefield, he didn't march in as a warrior, fully equipped and prepared for battle. He came in as a simple messenger sent to deliver food to his brothers. On the surface, it seemed like just another routine task, yet it was in this small moment that God's divine plan began to unfold. David was not going to battle to slay a giant. He was fulfilling a simple, mundane request from his father. He was doing what he was told, with no expectation of grandeur, no desire for recognition. He wasn't looking for a crown. He wasn't expecting to be the hero of the day. He was simply being obedient. It's often the small, faithful actions that lead to the bigger moments. God doesn't always show us the grand design. He just asks us to take the first step, even if that step feels insignificant. David's willingness to serve in the little things positioned him for greatness. There's a profound lesson here. Don't despise the small things. Too often, we discount the seemingly trivial tasks and wait for the big, important opportunities to come. We think that when we're doing something that seems small, it doesn't matter. But God specializes in taking ordinary moments and transforming them into extraordinary ones. The food delivery mission David was sent on became the doorway to his destiny. The moment he stepped into the camp and saw the challenge from Goliath, everything changed. One simple act of obedience led to the fulfillment of his purpose. This teaches that God uses everything in our lives, no matter how insignificant it may seem, to prepare us for what's ahead. The challenges, the disappointments, the routine, and even the seemingly small tasks are part of God's training ground. If we are faithful in those moments, we are being prepared for something much bigger than we can understand. David didn't know it, but in running his small errand, he was walking into his destiny. He didn't see the big picture yet, but his simple obedience made way for God's bigger plan. In our own lives, we may be going through moments that seem insignificant, tasks we think are beneath us, responsibilities that feel like distractions, or challenges that seem too small to matter. But the truth is, those are the very moments that God is using to shape us. If we're faithful in the little things, we are being positioned for the bigger things. The same God who was working in David's life, orchestrating his steps, is working in ours. What we see as routine or insignificant might be God's way of preparing us for something greater. So take heart in the small things. Don't wait for the dramatic moments to start living with purpose. Right where you are doing what you're doing, God is preparing you for something beyond your comprehension. You may not understand the significance of your current assignment, but stay faithful. Keep your heart in the right place and watch how God will use it to take you to places you never thought possible. Every moment of obedience, no matter how small, is a step towards something bigger than you think.